What's up, everybody? It's Jeffrey Lyles welcoming you to another edition of Lyles Figure Files. So I think Hasbro has been sitting back, listening, reading all of our comments, complaints about what the heck they've been doing with the Marvel Legends line for the past few months and kind of going, alright, bet, we got y'all. We've got some super major comic book rollouts that y'all are going to be so excited about. You're going to forget about all these complaints you had for these movie-related waves and just be so excited to be collecting Marvel Legends again. And I think for the most part, I was pretty excited. That Spider-Man wave was kind of like, but the Avengers 60th anniversary program definitely has me excited about what's in store for 2023. Rectangular kind of tipped us off, teased us with what was coming, massive rollout list of figures that were coming in 2023. To actually see them really has me excited though, and it's not just from the single releases, it's the 2-packs, it's the vehicle options, it's the tease of the HasLab. So let's break them all down right now. So first up, I think Hasbro's Marvel Legends squad, Dwight, Ryan, did this very well. They structured it so they went low, kind of built us up before we got to the finale. But the Spider-Man wave was kind of, I don't want to say boring or dull. It just didn't move me because so much of it was skewed so heavily towards modern figures. So we got an updated Ben Reilly. To me, no suit is going to top Ben Reilly's original outfit. This one looks alright, but it's like, okay, you got that. Then we have some evil clone version of Ben Reilly called Chasm. Again, if you're reading these modern comics and you're excited about these figures, more power to you. I'm not reading a lot of Marvel comics these days, so it's just like, whatever. I mean, the figures look alright, but not $25 worth. So we got him. We got an updated Miles Morales, and he's got a really unique design now. It looks okay. And then we got a new Spider-Woman. This figure, again, another modern outfit, but it's just okay. It's really uninspired in terms of what they're going with these designs. It's just, let's go heavier on black and red. So that's the color scheme they're going with the Spider-Man family, and that's what we have with so many of these new designs. And then we also have Daredevil Elektra. I don't really understand why Elektra wasn't good enough as a character. Now they have to just make her Daredevil as well. But this figure actually looks really good in terms of that design. They did say she's going to have that scarf cowl that she rocks in the comics, so that's also going to be included. And this one's a wholly unique sculpt, and I guess this is where all the budget went to, but at least you can see it and the figure really looks good. And then we get Tarantula, a figure that's been long overdue. I know a lot of you, like me, have had that old school Toy Biz version, just kind of hanging back, waiting to get improved with the new Hasbro version of Tarantula. But I'm not so sure I love the deal with the hood because, or his mask. I feel like it should be black, not blue, and I just think this is one of those Hasbro quirks of, let's do this version, and then we'll do a Spider-Man animated series version with a cel-shaded black mask. So I kind of wish they had just gone black, not try to go funny, do something different. Just go black the way that we kind of associate this character with, not do anything weird, and just roll that figure out, as opposed to, let's hold back on the ideal version till later. Otherwise, Tarantula looks really good. And then we get the Rose, and this is the modern version, so he's got the mask and the sunglasses. But I really like that old school version of him where you can see his eyes and he's got the glasses. I think that look worked better for a crime boss's son because it was like that Alberto Falcone deal. And I just kind of like that look version, or that version better. Having the sunglasses over the mask is okay. I get the reference. But again, I feel like they always skew a little bit too heavily on the modern interpretations, even of classic looks for characters. And there's something kind of funky about this suit body with Rose, where it just looks like his torso's too long, maybe his legs are too long. There's something off with this figure, and I want to see how he looks with other characters, specifically Kingpin. I really wish they had them posed next to each other so we could get a sense of the scale and the size of the Rose. But I kind of like this for the most part. I'm glad we actually get the Rose, but I really wish they had done a different mask. Now in a different time, in a different era, I think Hasbro would have said, hey, you know what? We'll just throw in an old school head as well, because that's really all you need to differentiate this modern and classic version of the Rose. Nowadays, we'll probably get a retro version of him with that old school look. I could see him being another version of the Spider-Man animated series and getting that version of Rose out to us so we can double dip. They don't have to change too much except for the head sculpt. And that way we'll get two versions of the mask. And then speaking of the animated series, we got two figures that I think a lot of us have been looking forward to. We got Aunt May. And Aunt May is a figure that I feel like a lot of Spider-Man fans have been waiting for. Probably not the animated series version, but we get her nonetheless. She comes with swappable hands. And I'm kind of like, okay, that's a decent Aunt May figure, but I really think we needed the old school Steve Ditko version, the Wheat Cakes Aunt May version, not necessarily the cartoon one first, but at least we're getting her in figure form so she can stand in, or at least be a civilian figure when we finally get a comic book version of Aunt May. But the real prize in this 2-pack is Dr. Octopus. Now this is the animated version, so he's got more of the armored outfit, and he's got swappable tentacles that bend, so you can actually swap them with the Hasbro Doc Ock and use them if you want to keep that classic look and have bendable tentacles. I really like that because they did that with the Toy Biz version, where you could actually pull out the Toy Biz tentacles and put them into the Hasbro one. And that saved that figure to me because the Hasbro ones were just kind of whack, but the Toy Biz being able to swap them in there totally made the figure. And so we're going to do this with Hasbro tentacles that bend and can ensnare Spider-Man. And that's really cool. You see one of these promo pictures, there's actually a way to have him balance on them. If he can stand like that on the shelf, that will be really cool and something I'm very excited about. I'm curious to see if that will be able to be the case with the older, rounder Doc Ock, because I think he might be a bit too heavy to support with just 2 legs. Now looking at the figure a little bit closer though, I'm kind of thinking, man, this paint job is real limited on this figure, and the colors are popping big like they do in the cartoon. I'm wondering if we're going to get more of a toned down version for the comic book style look of this outfit and attire, but push come to shove, we got a civilian figure, we got a Doc Ock with swappable tentacles. I think it's a good idea to grab this set because I feel like this is going to be one that's going to sell really quickly. This one's actually one of the few that's going up for pre-order tomorrow. Everything else is in this nebulous. We'll show you and we'll reveal the pre-order information when it becomes available. Unlike the Black Series Star Wars squad, where they're just like, no more pre-orders, we can't keep up with this stuff. The Marvel Legends team said we are going to have pre-orders, it's just a matter of when, maybe a couple weeks from now, so something to look forward to. But I really like this set, I think it's good, assuming it's not like $80, in which case I'll tap out. If it's around $60, it won't be too terrible, but having Doc Ock with his swappable tentacles really makes a lot for me in this set. Okay, now that was the Spider-Man stuff, and I was like, okay, great. But let's get to the fun, cool stuff. The Avengers celebration, the Beyond Earth's Mightiest program that they're doing throughout 2023 really has me excited. I feel like the Avengers are pretty well represented on my figure shelf, but now it looks like they're going to cross off a lot of gaps, question marks, and replace a few Toy Biz holdovers from my line. And I'm really excited about what they showed. So they started off, and Ryan kind of teased that we're going to get this one, but you can't go too far without showing the other 3, 4 founding members of the Avengers. So I hope and assume that means we're going to see the rest of them at some point. But we get the original Mark I Iron Man in the grayscale outfit, and it really looks good. The articulation on the figure is phenomenal. That's always been a thing with those figures. It made them really blocky, appropriately for that era, but they can't move worth anything. But this figure looks astonishing. I'm really happy with how they pulled off the articulation. They move his head down a bit. He's got that full torso floating deal, so he can move exceptionally well. And I kind of feel like at some point we're going to get the retro version and get the gold tint Iron Man Mark II to have that. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and then 4. And I guess we still need a real version of that 4 without the blue arc reactor center, but it's a great looking figure. It's got scrapes and dents in the armor, so it's really good, and I can't wait to get this one. I'm hoping Hasbro will also go the Toy Biz route, have a removable head so we can see Tony Stark underneath. That would be a really nice addition, but this figure really has me excited, and hopefully we'll see classic Thor, classic Hulk, and Ant-Man and Wasp 2-pack. We'll see. Then we also got another classic founding member of the Avengers and another civilian figure. We're getting our very first Bruce Banner comic book style. We've seen the Mark Ruffalo MCU version, but now we're getting comic book version Bruce Banner. And he comes straight off the cover with the Incredible Hulk. So he's in gray. He's got the matching orange shirt, the purple pants. And I really like how this turned out. And I was thinking, man, it would have been great to get Brute Green Hulk, who's teaming up with the Avengers. But this is a nice 2-pack because we can finally get that cover reenacted. And I think that really looks good. Both of these figures look great. They've actually toned down some of the torso so he's not as muscular as the Green Hulk that we got in Face Off set with Wolverine. But I'm really liking the look of this. I'm still holding out hope that eventually we'll get that original Brute version of Hulk, because that's one of the few Toy Biz holdovers I still have hanging on my Avengers display. That Series 9 first appearance Hulk, because he wasn't green then. But really like this, and I love the fact that they're doing 2-packs and getting figures that make sense paired together. Hulk, Bruce Banner in this case, and a couple more others we'll break down in just a minute. So we keep moving with another founding member of the Avengers. We get Thor, and this time we get the Walt Simonson bearded version. This is a variant that I was thinking we needed to see at some point. I love this option because you're going to swap the heads from the 80th anniversary of Marvel Comics version, the Alex Ross inspired line, and swap that, put the bearded one on here, so that way you've got your Under Siege version of Thor to help the Avengers battle the Masters of Evil as we continue to build their roster up. But really good to see this bearded version, and it looks like a slightly more modern-esque version of the Simonson outfit. So he's got the boots, he's got the armbands, he's got the more slender version of his outfit, so that tunic doesn't go as wide as it did before. It's a little bit more streamlined. I'm not quite sure how the articulation is, but it kind of looks like you're going to see some of that black carry over as you move the torso back and forward. So really curious to see how that's implemented, but I love the bearded Thor head sculpt. That looks tremendous, and even if there's some problems with this current body, I can always swap it and put it on the old one. So really good job to see that. But he's not coming alone though. He's in a 2-pack, and he's packed with a massive destroyer. And I'd really kick myself for not getting the Marvel Select version, but I'm glad that I waited because this one looks tremendous. They've done some really nice job with the paint. There's so many figures. I'm kind of like, this figure would look so much better if they just included a little bit more love with the paint apps. But this figure looks to have a lot of paint detail, little wash detail to show the sculpt properly, and it looks really good. Got all the spikes, all the detail exactly like you would want and hope for a destroyer figure, and it looks really good. I'm wondering if they'll throw in an Odin head sculpt as well, but we don't really have to have it. But man, that's a good 2-pack. I'm just very worried about how much this is going to be. This is going to be another Null and Venom set where it's going to be like close to $90, and we're going to have to wait a few months or closer to a year before it's down to $60 or $50. But I really like this set. I think this is a really strong 2-pack. Again, like Hulk and Bruce Banner, but it really shouldn't be the same price because Bruce Banner is nowhere near the size of Thor, and Destroyer is a lot more involved. It's an original sculpt than the Hulk. And then finally, with these deluxe presentations, we're getting a figure that's been overdue. I know we've gotten several versions of this character from Hasbro, but I think this time they finally nailed it. We're getting Hawkeye, classic. Bare arms on both, not the long purple that we associate with the West Coast Avengers look, but classic Hawkeye. And he's coming with his Sky Cycle, just like the old Marvel Legends Series 6 from Toy Biz. They've actually incorporated and thought this through, so his skirt piece is cloth, so he can actually sit down with no problem. It won't bunch up on him. I really like that because sometimes it's, well, if you want to compromise, you got to have one or the other. But they took care of it and incorporated it well. We couldn't really see too close on that head sculpt, but it looks like it's good. It's not like a mean looking Hawkeye. And it looks like he might have a smirk, which is what I would love to see for every Hawkeye figure. But it looks really good, and it's just what I wanted. I think it's going to beat out that retro version. Of course, the Return of Marvel Legends, Hawkeye, the Odin Father wave. Really happy to see this. And Sky Cycle looks good. The Ryan and Dwight made a point to mention that it can actually hold another figure. So hopefully this means we'll get a classic Mockingbird to pair up with them. But I really love the look of this set as well. It should not be the same price as Destroyer and Thor or Hulk and Banner because it's a figure and it's a vehicle. Now, for us G.I. Joe Classified Series fans, I really took note that they mentioned the Sky Cycle is 3 parts that you assemble and piece together. I'm wondering if that means classified series could incorporate this same kind of technology for a Skyhawk, a Devilfish, where you just assemble it. It's that way it can fit in retail shelves without being too big and too huge. Maybe that's a possibility, but I was thinking about it when I heard them mention it. So really looking forward to this, and hopefully a classic Mockingbird as well. And then on my last Marvel Legends episode, I talked about, hey, here's some black heroes that we're still waiting for coming from Hasbro. And so many of you in the comments, it was like ridiculous. Everyone was like, yo, we need a new Monica Rambeau in her Captain Marvel attire. We need that. We need her. We need Blade. And those were the two, by far, that you all wanted to see. And finally, and I knew this because Rectangular mentioned that months ago, I knew we were getting this Captain Marvel, but it was so good to actually see Monica, Captain Marvel, in all of her glory, in figure form. They incorporated her arm wings perfectly, I think, and the head sculpt looks great, and it's Captain Marvel too. So we're almost done with one version, one complete team of Avengers. We probably need a better version of She-Hulk. Probably need a Dr. Druid while we're at it, but getting her gets us real close to knocking out the Secret Wars version of the Avengers. So again, we need She-Hulk, classic Savage She-Hulk, and a Wasp in a matching Secret Wars attire to have the whole Avengers squad knocked out. But her figure looks really good, and she's also in a 2-pack. She comes with Doctor Doom from Secret Wars. And this Doctor Doom is the capeless version. It's the I'm absorbing all the Beyonder's powers. So it's got the sculpted detail in the chest area. And I really like the look of this figure as well. I really hope Hasbro includes a swappable head with a no scars, scar-free version of Doctor Doom, because that was one of his first acts after he got all that power. He's like, I'm going to fix my face because I can't blame this on Richards. I'm going to fix my face. I'm going to look pretty again. And that's going to be really nice to see. So we're going to have Claw, we got Ultron, we got Kang. We badly need versions that match up better of Absorbing Man and the Wrecking Crew. And we got our Doc Ock. Got Molecule Man, so we're starting to get a little bit closer to getting that full roster. Got Retro Lizard there as well. So Titania, Volcana. We're getting so close to wrapping up all of the Secret Wars in figure form from Hasbro, but there's still a few more cases of figures that we need. Maybe just 2 packs of the Wrecking Crew, Wrecker, Thunderball, Pile Driver, Bulldozer, and then Absorbing Man, Titania, and an older version of Molecule Man with the less attractive model face, and pair him up with Volcana. There we go. So those are some more ideas of 2-packs for you, Hasbro. Just throwing them out there for you. And then we get another 2-pack because I really like this. They're just rolling out 2-packs. And I complain about the lack of Build-A-Figure waves, but I don't mind it so much when we're getting 2-packs, especially when they're new figures that we need anyway. So we're going to the 90s with the extreme version of the Avengers. We're getting Cersei. Cersei looks great. She's wearing the red and brown outfit that I wanted to see, the red and black outfit with the brown bomber jacket. Great head sculpt. She's got some nice new looking effect pieces. Really like that. She's coming with Black Knight. And I was just a little bit disappointed that he's got the same angry head sculpt. I was hoping that they would do what a lot of customizers did, peel off that old mask sculpt with the anger gritted teeth and give him the neutral head sculpt that we had with the wing version from Black Knight. Or we should get an unmasked, unhelmeted version of Dane Whitman, so we get to see him, because so often during that run he wasn't even wearing his helmet. So I would have loved to see that, but we do get him with his laser sword, and he's got his bomber jacket. It's a cool look, and it'll be really good to have more members of that era of the Avengers. So we've got Black Widow, we've got Cap, we got Vision, sort of, kind of, and now we need Hercules, we need Crystal, we need Giant Man, and we need Wasp, so we can get more of that team. But this is really good to get more of that 90s era team together. I really love the idea of getting 2-packs of teams so we can complete them faster. Hopefully we can do that with some more teams in the future, but really nice to see these guys as well. And then we get another super articulated figure. This is Black Widow. Dwight said this is going to be one of his top 10 figures of the year, and looking at the articulation, that head sculpt, the effect on her Viper, on her Widow's Blast, really has me thinking that this is going to be one of their best figures as well. And I was one of those who got the retro Black Widow, who got the bike version of Widow, so I could cobble together a better version. But I think this is going to be my new default Black Widow, and I think this figure Really looks good. I can't wait to see more publicity photos, more promo pics, so we can see these figures are all their full glory, especially Black Widow. But can't wait to see more of her in figure form, and how soon before we can actually get her. Curious if she's going to be part of a Build-A-Figure wave or standard release, or as a retro figure, or as a deluxe with more accessory pieces. Lots of options, and I'm thinking we'll probably have to pay a little bit more for this, but this time it actually looks like it's worthwhile. And then we get a new update of Bucky Cap. And this figure is no longer on the Bucky Cap mold, appropriately enough. He's going to the Vulcan mold. And this is the one that they're kind of hyping as the new replacement, the main default of all the male figures, even though we're still getting figures with pin joints like the Orb who are using the old Bucky Cap mold. But it's really nice to see this version, because I feel like this one kind of is a better version of that Bucky Cap outfit. I kind of looked back over the years like, should I track down and should I get this Bucky Cap to go with my new Avengers squad? And I always kind of held off because I don't like the head sculpt. There was just something throwing me off of this figure. But this one looks a lot better. There's a little bit more sheen to the blue areas. The black looks starker. The black boots have a little bit more of a flat color to them. So I really like this. The shield looks really nice as well. He's got his knife. He's got his gun on his sheath, on his holster. Really like the look of this, and I'm hoping this is part of another wave, not just a standalone Bucky Cap. But I'm really glad to finally get him, to put him with my Spider-Woman, Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Wolverine, that random era of the Avengers. But it was still kind of cool and fun. So really glad to have Bucky Cap hanging out and joining the new Avengers squad. And then continuing with that sort of modern era, because that's been like a decade ago now, we're getting Secret Invasion figures. We're getting a Super Skrull who's got all these powers showing off in the outfits of various Avengers, Defenders characters. I really think that's cool. And we're getting the Skrull Queen, who's basically reusing the old Spider-Woman body. I was really hoping that Hasbro would use some of those parts from the older, thicker female mold and just include double jointed elbows, because that would have really taken that figure to the next level. But that mold I still think is better than a lot of the other ones they're using, and the head sculpt on the Skrull Queen looks great, so this would be a nice 2-pack. I kind of wish though that they had done another character, maybe just another amalgamated Skrull taking advantage of more powers. That way we could have had just another option of another villain, another Skrull character in the mix, and maybe just included a Skrull Queen head. That way for all of us who had that original Spider-Woman, we could just use that and plop her right in there without having to take up a space in a 2-pack slot of a figure we already have, minus the Skrull Queen head sculpt. So anyway, not too bad, but I really wish they had done 2 Skrull army builders. And then finally, we get the Super Adaptoid, and this is a 12-inch figure, true 12-inch, so it looks really well scaled next to the Skrull Queen, next to other figures. And of course, you know, I'm thinking, well, if we were doing all this sculpting work on the Super Adaptoid, there are a couple other giant characters we could include as well. But for now, let's talk about the Super Adaptoid. Figure looks really good. Like I mentioned, lots of sculpted detail. This is not a case where we need to make it a buck body, so that way we can just add these overlays as needed. This one, they put all the details, all the elements into it. I was a little bit surprised they went that hard though, because you'd think with a cleaner buck they could repurpose these parts for other figures, but they just went and incorporated all this modern detail into the Super Adaptoid, and I think it really looks good. It's got the Hawkeye mask piece, it's got the shield, it's got the hammer, so that's going to be a fun figure to have just throwing down against a whole team of Avengers. And of course, I love any villain that can take on more than 1 or 2 Avengers, so it'll be really nice to have Super Adaptoid 12-inch form fighting my team of Avengers. We got a tease for the next HasLab, and not a whole bunch of things to it, just like, hey, it's going to be Avengers theme and it's going to be the HasLab. Of course, that made me think, maybe this is time. We're going to get that HasLab Giant Man that I was clamoring for before we even saw the Ghost Rider Hellcharger. So maybe this is the time we get that HasLab Giant Man, Goliath, Black Goliath, Atlas, however many giant characters we want to throw in there. And again, you can check out my video. I mentioned some ideas for tiers that they could incorporate that could work just as well, but I'm hoping we see that. The other option, of course, is an Avengers Quinjet. I don't know where I'd put it, but I feel like I'd be much more interested in backing that than a Hellcharger. So we'll see. Let me know what you want to see. Giant Man or Quinjet for an Avengers HasLab. As always, thank you so much for watching. This episode of Laos Figure Files has been filed.